I'm Shivani Sinarai, and we have a very interesting conversation once again, 12 noon, our time, EST time, right? As we continue building our Caribbean Connect learning community, as we go Tuesday to Tuesday with great knowledge, great subject matter experts, the art of conversation, great conversation. So I'm here to introduce Tony Raghunandan, and then hand you over really to Tony, which will really take us through this very interesting conversation. So who is Tony? Right, I know why Tony is here. Tony is here to share knowledge on Caribbean Connect. But who is Tony? Tony Raghunandan is a trainer, mentor, and performance management advisor who believes that the key to individual and organizational success is to align structure, talent, and behavior. For the last 15 years, as the founder of V Formation Training and Development, he has been involved in helping businesses to build their organizational culture and helping individuals to maximize their performance capability. Outside of this, Tony is currently minding his own business and focusing on family, football, and fitness. Three very important things, Tony. So as I read your introduction, this is a conversation that I continuously have with Tony, that persons, leaders need to align structure, talent, and a very key point, behaviors. Just today we were having this conversation that a lot of times you in organizations and you hear people saying, I am complaining about a job, persons are not working, but really what is the problem? The problem may be that they misunderstand or they do not have the correct expectations. So, it's a very interesting conversation. It is a conversation that is relevant. It's a conversation that is needed. So I would like to hand over to Tony. Welcome, Tony. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Could you hear me? Everybody can hear me? Okay, just give me a thumbs up.
I'm hearing you. Yeah.
All right, good. Okay, I want to keep this as interactive as possible. I want you to disturb me at any point. If you have a question, comment, anything. But we have a short time and it's a loaded topic. So I want to get right into it. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about linking behavior and performance, and this is an important relationship to talk about, and the three core conversations that every leader should master. Obviously, there are a lot of conversations that we need to have, but the three important ones is what I want to focus on today. What we will cover: one, I want to define sort of a big picture view of how these conversations fit in. Secondly, I want to talk about those three conversations. The three core conversations that I'll focus on today are the expectations conversation, performance conversations, and the coaching conversations. And I'm sure that many of you may be familiar with many of these and do them already, but I just want to make sure that we are covering the bases and that we are doing them properly. And lastly, hold on. Adapting. What do you need to improve? The first thing I want to get into is just a quick exercise. This is called the tree of life. And I wonder anybody could just tell me where you are on this tree of life. I mean, some people are at the bottom relaxing, some people are climbing, some people they have some colleagues that they work well with. Some people are at the top and they're hanging on, some people are up on top and relaxing. But which one are you? Anybody? Which one, if you had to pick one that would represent you, what would it be? And you could feel free to unmute your mics. I don't want this to be a silent presentation.
I would say I am climbing.
Which one? Which one here? Down here?
Say in the middle, somewhere in the middle.
Around here?
Yeah.
All right, good, good. Everybody that you work with is somewhere on this on this tree of life, and we need to have, I guess, conversations to help them improve, help them to know where they're going, if they heading in the right direction. Anybody else wants to jump in here? All right, everybody's still a little shy. All right, no problem. All right, let's move on. Is this positive or negative? Just a quick analogy. Is this positive or negative for you?
I would say it is positive because I am learning as I'm climbing.
Okay.
Positive.
All right. Are you seeing the other screen?
Yeah, this one is the positive or negative in terms of some cups. These are cups.
No, these are screws.
Okay, screws. Okay.
Is everybody seeing this picture?
Seen it, yes.
And you're seeing positive or negative on the left side, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, we're seeing that.
good. Take a good look. Take a close look and tell me what you see.
Hi, good day.
Good
In
day,
my
Sheila.
opinion, I think it's negative because it's being a bit hypocritical.
Okay.
You see some screws with the screws, and then you see in this one with a flat edge, trying to be one advocating for those with the screws. I may be wrong, but yeah.
Yeah, no, there's no right or wrong with this. There's no right or wrong answer at all. The screw that is at the microphone is a flathead screwdriver, basically. And also a screw. So they have the same top as the audience, but the audience are all screws, not a screwdriver. So the leader could screw them into the ground, get them exactly where he or she wants them, but they have no effect on him or her. Is that positive or negative for you? Sheila, what you think?
I think to me, that's negative. I don't like that analogy.
Yeah, and me neither.
Yes.
I think it could be mostly negative for the time being. But
Yes.
if you are trying to develop somebody, it's good to have that influence on them, right? So in that
Yeah,
case,
but I don't like the idea of screwing somebody into the ground. It should be a mutual agreement that you want to do something with someone.
yes, it's imagery.
Yeah.
It's imagery, right? It's
Right,
sort of
okay.
like, do you have the influence? So yes, in this case, the leader has the influence.
Okay.
But on a negative side, that leader could put you exactly where you need to be without having any input. Because in this case, the audience has no input. That makes sense?
Yes,
Well,
it makes sense, yeah, to me.
Okay, all right, good. All right, so the first thing I want to do is focus on a big picture view. Yes, we are here to talk about conversations, but I also want to make sure that we can look at where those conversations fit into the whole performance management process and how we achieve, whether it's goals or culture or whatever we are trying to achieve. So with every goal that we have, there are key questions that we need to ask, right? And the key questions will have a logical and emotional connection. So the logical connection and emotional connection are both critical in understanding what do we have. So let's look at the diagram first. And I just have a quick question for you. What are we aiming for? What are the goals? This is the logical connection. But what is the emotional connection? What is the emotional connection to the logic of going after those goals? 2, how will we do it? What are the strategies and what are the shared values? And everybody should have a good idea of why values are important. And what is my role? What are the task, skills, and behaviors I need to have, and the individual attitudes that I need to have? And see, one thing that is, well, let me ask you the first question. Why is the logical and emotional connection important? Anybody? Don't worry about being right or wrong. Just speak your mind. Whatever is on your mind, just speak it. Why do you think the emotional connection is so important every time we have a logical reason why we might be going after something?
It makes it happen. It makes it happen. The why, you know, the
Yes.
why am I here? Why am I doing this course with you? Why am I sitting on a lunchtime session doing this? You know, yes, it may be my particular goal, but why am I doing it? It's for knowledge. And when I understand the why of something, I tend to get it done better.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Okay, somebody put something in the chat.
Motivation.
Motivation. Okay. Yes, it increases the level of motivation. And there's an analogy I always like to use. It came from a book called Switch by Chip and Dan Heath. It says there's an elephant, there's a rider, and there's a path. In order for you to go down the path, you have to get onto the elephant. But this is really metaphorical. It means that the elephant is actually your emotion. So the rider is you. But sometimes if the emotion is not on the same page as you, then the path would be difficult. For example, for those of you who shop on Amazon, for example, on Amazon, you have a reason why you shop on Amazon. Well, why do you shop on Amazon? Anybody, give me a reason, any reason. Why do you shop on Amazon if you do?
I feel Mario shops a lot on Amazon. Mario, why you shop on Amazon? I'm seeing Mario here.
Deals, Laverne,
Yeah.
deals. Okay, what else? Anything else? Does it come right to your house when you shop on Amazon? The choice. Anyway, but the idea, what I'm trying to get to is that your elephant is always motivated because the path is clear. Does that make sense? If the path is clear, then the elephant will be motivated. For example, if you're a difficult person to talk to, people will not want to talk to you. The elephant in their mind is not motivated because that is their emotion.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're an easy person to talk to, the elephant is motivated. The rider will get on the elephant and he will go down that path because the path is easy. And this is what conversations do for goals. They help us to establish clarity. And clarity is one of the things that we always have to think about as we go after our goals. Any goal that you might be thinking of. So one of the things I have here is behaviors. And behaviors make things very, very crucial because one thing to have skills and knowledge, but getting the behaviors right is what is going to be critical in getting the right culture. And in order to support those behaviors, we need the conversations from leaders to their direct reports. So just to expand on behaviors, and I want to examine the root of that. There's this formula that Kurt Lewin, who was a psychologist back in 1936, he said behavior is a function of a person in their environment. So if you think about it, a person going into an environment, depending on what that environment is, it could determine the type of behavior that they have, that they display. So when was the first time that we experienced an environment? It was in the womb. That before we were born, we had an environment that we were exposed to. When we are born, we have an environment that we came into. Whether it's our parents, our birth parents, adoptive parents, doesn't matter. But the idea is that environment that was created dictates how we behave. And even in companies, you bring the right person into the wrong environment and their behavior might not match their values or goals. And this is something that we see all the time. So the idea is to get the environment right. And this is what conversations do from leaders. We have to have conversations. Now, I know some of you all may have been in a previous session of mine, and I talk a lot about certain behaviors and certain conversations, and we are going to expand on it here a bit. So what is needed? Based on that diagram I had earlier, we need to know our goal and know our purpose behind it, mean clear direction. We have to have the skills, knowledge, abilities, and behaviors, which would be part of the competency, which I will explain in a minute. The reinforcement systems, which is in the performance appraisal, again, conversations that we have, other processes that manage behaviors and skills in order to create consistent role models. Because if we have the right behaviors moving up the chain, then we have eventually people at the top who are displaying the right behaviors so that they could coach, give feedback, do all the types of conversations that they need to develop the people below them. Is it okay so far? Am I moving too fast or is everybody all right? Let's give me a thumbs up if you're okay.
I'm good. Yeah, you see Josette said she's good.
Okay. All right, good. So before we get into the conversations, I want to just go over something really quickly. And this is the interaction of activities and behaviors. Now, on your performance assessment, regardless of what style it is or what model it is, I don't know what that is, but there might be competencies. Some people like to call them values, but I prefer competencies. If you have a clear idea of what your competencies are, in other words, the competency is made up of the knowledge, ability, and skill that you have. Whether you're an accountant or engineer, you will have competencies. You will have the knowledge, ability, and skill. But also, are you exhibiting the type of behavior within that role that you're supposed to? And the behavior is made up of the actions, the attitudes, and the beliefs that you have. Because there would be tons of people in the workplace with the right skills who are not displaying the right behaviors. For example, there are tons of people who are great drivers on the road. And I talked about this with Shivani a little earlier. But not everybody behaves the way that they should, whether they're a good driver or not. So we have to make sure that we define what behaviors you want in the workplace before we could have the conversation that we need to have.
Tony, excuse.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think when you were telling me, you were having that conversation with me this morning about the driver, I feel you were telling me something in smart, about me being not the best driver. But anyway, we'll talk that after, right?
Yes,
the behaviors.
No right. So the idea is that we have to define what those behaviors need to be for that position. In other words, what do you want to observe? Because one of the things that makes behaviors or competencies different from values, and some people like to call these values, all competencies are values, that is true, but not all values are competencies. The one thing that separates it from values is that competencies are always observable. This is something that you could define for your team members. What do you want to observe in the workplace? And that has to be very clear on paper. In other words, you have a performance assessment document, those behaviors need to be clear. A lot of people, and over the years, I've worked with a lot of companies who have very detailed list of competencies that they need. It shouldn't be more than about 5 or 6. But what does that competency look like in action? That is really critical. It is critical to have that defined so that people know what is expected of them. That is absolutely crucial. Once you have that, then you could move on. Because then you could have an expectations conversation, which is the very first conversation that we will talk about with your team members. And you will have to have 2, one with the team and one individual, as you would expect. All right. So do you have this on your assessments? Do you have competencies on your assessments that now your performance appraisal document? Anybody could answer. Barry, are you there? I know I worked with you all before, so you may have.
We used to, Tony. We used to have a detailed assessment
Right.
that identified some behaviors, but now it's so condensed. It's just more performance based at this time.
So it's more KPI based.
More KPI based, yeah.
Right, but what drives the KPIs? Should it be behaviors that are driving KPIs that we need to define properly?
It should be. It's just that we've taken this global approach and kind of shied away from that now.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, when I was with, I used to be with pharmaceuticals before and with an American company. And before they had different competencies for different departments. But after a while, they changed it. And they had like 5 or 6 core competencies for the company. And what these competencies did is that they explained exactly what behaviors they expect, because they know that these behaviors sort of drove the KPIs or the achievement of KPIs. Does that make sense to everybody? I know different companies do it differently, but you could share now if you feel like. What does it look like in your company? Okay. All right. Okay. So somebody was saying something?
Yes, this is Sarah.
Sarah, yeah.
So, like Barry was alluding to, the performance appraisals now are around specific deliverables
Right.
that can be measured. So it's performance targets, not necessarily behavior based.
But do you
Because
think?
well,
do you
the thing
think-
is,
Yeah, go ahead.
Behavior-based conversations can sometimes be argumentative and subjective.
Right.
So it's hard to measure.
Yeah, it is a bit harder than KPIs because KPIs are black and white, but the way you do behaviors are not, you have to make it as objective as possible. It's not going to be as objective as KPIs. But if, for example, you had a competency like initiative, for example, I'm just pushing this out as an example. You may have a certain way you want initiative to look at your company. But you have to be specific as to what do you want initiative to look like. Initiative is a competency, but what behaviors match that? What behaviors define what you want? And for your company, it might be different to your competitor company, right? For example, Hyatt and Hilton might be saying exactly the same thing in their competencies and behaviors, but one of them demonstrates it a little better than the other one from my experience, but that is just me. But the idea is that people have to know what is expected of them, not just what they have to achieve. Sarah, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does.
Because think about it. For those of you who have children, for example, there are certain behaviors you don't allow at home, right? You just no iPad during the week, for example. That might be a behavior that you might want with your children. But you don't have to have it on a performance assessment document. You just know that we don't accept this behavior here. No iPad during the week, you get it on weekends or whatever that is. But we have to also be specific in companies as to behaviors, because this helps the conversations to be more effective. Especially if I have to give feedback to somebody, because during the year, I will have to give feedback on behaviors, not just achievement of goals. If somebody is not working well as part of a team and creating conflict with the entire team, then yes, you're going to have to give some level of feedback to that person, whether it's negative or even positive, because there's a certain behavior that you want, and that needs to be less subjective than it has been with certain companies, or with every company for that matter. So, all right, so what did I just explain this? What does the behavior look like in action? That has to be sort of clear. And this is not a long process, this is a very short process. To define these competencies and behaviors is not a long process. It's just to define them. And if at the end of the quarter, I have to do a mini assessment on somebody, then I will ask them, give me an example of a time when you showed initiative, for example. Well, I showed initiative by going the extra mile for this particular customer. That is proof of the behavior. So the objectivity becomes a lot higher than just having somebody saying, yes, I was nice to everybody. But did you do an extra course this year? Did you improve yourself in any way this year? That is evidence that they have demonstrated the competency of initiative. And that could be proven, and that could be written on a performance assessment document. So the idea of increasing the level of objectivity within the workplace, within performance management, is still possible. It's just dependent on how you do it.
So Tony, just to ask a question again, right, with initiative, and I find it is such an important aspect. So we do a lot of organizations, the same point you said, initiative, right. But when you are doing the performance appraisals, you may just say, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And yes, this person is very resourceful, etc. But as you correctly said, it's up to us now as the managers, as the leaders, really, to them to show exactly how is it then that Tony is showing initiative and it's not done. We might just say very resourceful and initiative and just may tick it, but the behaviors or the specifics are not there. We're not doing that. To me, this is really lacking.
Yeah, and the idea is to give the employee a chance to give evidence of because a performance appraisal is not one way. It is a conversation. It is not one way. It's not like, let me tell you what you did wrong, let me tell you what you did right, and this is the score you get. It shouldn't be like that. It should be a conversation where the employee has a chance to give evidence about how they have demonstrated that behavior. But that is sort of cultural. You have to sort of get that into the culture. But anyway, in order to support that process, we need to have the conversations. And one of the first conversations is really about making sure there is clarity. Now, this what I have is a painting by Salvador Dali on the screen. Everybody seeing this? Shivani, you can see it?
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
Now, when he designed this or did this painting, there's something he had on his mind. And what did he have on his mind? What do you think he had on his mind? What message was he trying to get across?
You want your analogies, Tony?
Pardon? Yeah, well, you know,
I said your analogies. What is he trying to get across here?
what is he trying to get across here with this painting? What message was he trying to create with this drawing or painting rather? And don't worry about being right or wrong. Just tell me what you feel.
A person made up of different parts and compartments.
Mhm.
Yes. Is that and that is important. Everybody is made up of different compartments, and the only way that you could get into the compartments is to do what? If you have to have access to any of those compartments, what do you have to do? Who said that? Who commented?
Open the drawer.
Yeah, but how are you going to do that? Do
Need
people
a key.
Ask questions.
Yeah, Josette, right. Ask questions. But in order for people to share things, personal things about themselves, or even things about work, because I have been to companies where people are just afraid to talk. Like they go to a meeting and there's no level of psychological safety in the meeting at all. People just don't say anything. But the idea is to get people to talk. But how do you get them to talk? What type of relationship do you need to have?
Yeah,
You would give them the key to open it. You'll give them the key to open each compartment if there's
Right.
trust.
Trust, and that is the important word, because trust is the first dysfunction of a team. That is the thing that leads to all the other dysfunctions, is having that trust. And in order to create that trust, you have to have a level of vulnerability as a leader. You can't be all like perfect and think that you could do no wrong. Everybody makes mistakes, and you have to admit that you don't know everything sometimes. You know, you have to give other people a chance. I mean, it's people have things that they may want to say, and it may be a good idea. So let's get into the first conversation, and this is the expectations conversation that we have at the beginning of any financial year with our teams and the individuals on that team. So the idea here is to create clarity before you do anything else for that year. What are the goals and what are the expectations? Even if you don't have behaviors properly defined, you might have something, an idea of something in your mind, like you don't want this and you want this, you want people to go the extra mile. All of those things are important. To be creative, to work together as a team. Those things are is more easily said than done, but the idea is that we have to define first how you want it to look. But the idea with goals is that they are black and white. You have to achieve this goal, and that is what we want. So what looks like resistance is sometimes just a lack of clarity. So what I have here, and feel free to screenshot this if you want, is a model for having those expectations conversation. I didn't put 1, 2, 3, and 4. This first one here, describe the situation, is first. This could include a summary of the performance from the previous year. This is what we have achieved last year. This is what we did right, what we did wrong, and this is the plan for progress in the current year. Sort of give them a big picture view of where we are at the moment. And then you move to confirm the understanding. Get an idea of that from them as to what they think. What they think, do they think they could do anything differently? Get them to give their input. Ensure that the employee understands and has the opportunity to seek clarity, because clarity is the key word here. Everybody must have clarity. Then share the expectations and plan. Communicate goals, define competencies, behaviors, and how you are going to maintain accountability. And lastly, seek agreement. Get an agreement and commitment from the employee, but also make sure that the employee could question and clarify the information. This is sort of in a nutshell, what an expectations conversation may look like. You could change it up if you want. So this is sort of the idea, or sort of a model, because what you want to do is to create clarity from the beginning of the financial year so that everybody knows this is what we have to achieve. And this is how we are going to do it. And you will have special projects that you're going to be working on. You are going to have to define what those behaviors and competencies in general need to be, because that is going to be crucial. Competencies, this is what creates the culture. is not the goal. Every time we hear people talking about a toxic culture, it is how people are behaving, how they are communicating with each other. That is why we need to define them properly and make sure that even in the hiring process, that you hire based on those competencies. Because the more you get people in your company to be like the competencies you define, have those behaviors naturally, the less work leaders will have to do. Like, I am punctual by nature. That's one of my good qualities. If I was reporting to you, you will have no work to do with punctuality with me. Things will be on time. You may have to work on some other things, but not that one. Everybody clear? Everybody clear so far? Okay, good.
Yes.
I see Sarah has a question.
Sarah?
Oh, that was a thumbs up.
Oh, okay. All right, no problem. Okay, good. So we have now, the second one is the performance conversations. And many people will call it an appraisal. I prefer performance conversations because, and sometimes I see where people have this one appraisal per year, like if it's an ornament, and they just wait until the end of the year to tell employees anything. And well, I noticed in December they're having this appraisal, and they start talking about, well, I noticed in January you were not, working well with the team, and that is an absolute no-no. You should have performance conversations, or at least a mini appraisal every quarter, at the end of every quarter. And organizational structure also has a lot to do with this, because if you have too many people reporting to you, if you have more than 10, let's say, it's difficult to do a mini assessment. And it's difficult to develop people. If you have 20 and 30 people reporting to you, then it makes it very difficult to develop anybody on a team that has a organizational structure like that. Okay, so the idea is to try to do a mini appraisal where you would go through the goals, see how far we are, and what are you observing in terms of behaviors? Because this is the one thing about competencies that, again, makes it different. Everything is observable, and it has to be written like that. Okay, so the areas of focus when you do an appraisal or a mini assessment is to compare the results to expectations and talk about the demonstration of competencies. How did they demonstrate those competencies? Whatever have been defined. And again, you only need about 5 or 6 of these. And then successes and areas of development. And the areas of development is an important one, because not everyone is going to be strong in every competence. Maybe they might be strong in 4, but need to develop 1. That is normal. Everybody will have to develop in a certain area. So the idea is to have this performance conversation. And also, one of the things that is really important about the appraisal or performance conversation is that you have to make it a conversation. Okay? That has to be clear. And people have to come prepared. Employees have to come prepared to give evidence of their demonstration, especially the second one here, the demonstration of the competencies. Because there must be a reason why people are not achieving this KPI or that KPI. That is absolutely crucial. Shivani, could you give me a hand and just read the comments in the chat, just in case I'm missing anybody out in terms of
Right.
feedback?
Barry said he's going to have a chat with you later. So thanks, Barry. We look forward.
Okay. So it must send a message. You are part. Every time you give feedback to anybody, it must send a message. Like if I am giving negative feedback to somebody, I must give it in a way that lets the person know I'm still on your side. Not you're doing stupidness, boy or girl. Even though sometimes it may be necessary to be that disruptive. But if you are finding yourself being that disruptive every day, you have a problem. So you are part of this group. This group is special. We have high standards here. I believe you could, somebody saying something? I believe you could reach your standards. It must send that message. That is the idea behind feedback. So some steps to giving positive feedback, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because this is something everybody should already know. Tell the person what they did correctly. Tell the person how you feel about the behavior. Encourage more of the same behavior. You don't have to have a structure like this. Feedback, positive feedback. If it is, you can match your personality. Let it match your personality. One of the challenges with positive feedback is that we don't give it enough. And that is what makes it different from negative feedback. With negative feedback, we tend to give it in the wrong way. So this is just a model I'm working with here. Mary, I have an issue that I need your help with. The last few weeks, I have noticed that you have been handing in your reports on late. This means that I can't get the information to the rest of the team. I feel a bit uncomfortable with this because I want to maintain a great relationship with the team. This is in turn important for the success of the company. So you could match your personality with how you want to give feedback, but make sure that you are giving it in a way that lets the person know at least that I am on your side still. I'm just giving you feedback, because chances are if you say it the wrong way, it would be taken the wrong way, and then people go home with all kinds of emotional baggage, and that just magnifies a whole problem that you don't need. The last part here, what do you think you could do to help solve the problem? If you need help, let me know. And this sort of moves us into the third conversation, which is coaching. And I know some of you all, I had gone through this before, but we are going to, all right, don't worry about this one. All right. So one of the things with my last point on doing the appraisal or performance assessments, performance conversations, is that what is discussed during the annual performance conversation or quarterly appraisal should never be a surprise to any employee, which means that you should be given feedback throughout the year so that people know where they stand by the time you get to this appraisal, or by the end of the quarter. They should at least know where they stand. Okay, now the last conversation I want to focus on here, and again, we only have an hour, but there are a lot of different conversations that we need to have. The coaching conversation help people to make a commitment for their own development. Now, anybody could tell me what the difference is between feedback and coaching? Can anybody tell me? In other words, how does coaching look in action as opposed to feedback?
Coaching is you're working with someone, so
Right.
system, and feedback is just giving them information or instructions.
Right. So feedback is more about telling.
Yeah.
So feedback is different from coaching in that feedback is telling oriented, and it is focused on the past. Coaching, on the other hand, is inquiry oriented, focus on questions, but focus on the future. And this is important to recognize. So what you are doing is, people sometimes tell me that they're coaching their employees, but they're not doing that. What they're doing is telling employees what to do. And that is not coaching. That is not coaching. Training is not coaching. Mentoring is not coaching. Treat a person as they are, they will remain so. Treat a person the way a person can be and is capable of being, and that person will become as he or she can be and should be. So the idea behind coaching is that this is a popular model. This is used worldwide. It's called the GROW model. And it is very, very effective. You know, sometimes and this is something good to keep in your mind. So the idea behind coaching is that you want to raise a level of awareness, responsibility, and choice with the person you are coaching. And I'm going to make this a little shorter than I normally make it because of the time that we have. But let's suppose I asked you, I said, hey, Karuna, could you go in the room next door and get a ladder for me? If you go in the room next door and you don't see a ladder, what is the first thing you think you might do?
Well, some people might just say, well, there's no ladder, Tony, there's no ladder. And
Right, they might
that's
come
it,
back and tell me
remember?
there's no ladder because I haven't done these things here. I haven't given them the awareness, responsibility, or the choice. But if I said, is it possible for somebody to get a ladder for me? And somebody who volunteers, all of this will be their choice now. Well, not their choice, but something that they have within themselves to get that ladder. The awareness will be there that I need a ladder. Responsibility will be there because they know they have to get it. And then the choice to go and look for it, wherever that ladder might be. So let's go through a quick model here. And let's go through this is a non-work example. I know Barry may have heard this example before, but let me try anyway. And I want people to jump in here. Just jump in and tell me what you feel, okay? Let's suppose somebody came to me and said, hey, Tony, I want to lose 10 pounds. do I have the entire goal? What do I need to ask them about that goal? What do I need to ask them? They just told me they want to lose 10 pounds. What is missing in that goal? What is that question?
Why do you want to lose 10 pounds?
Why
And
is
how
one,
do you, and
one
how
question?
are you going to achieve it? Why and how?
Don't worry
And
about
when?
how.
A time frame.
When?
Yes, a time
when,
frame.
or
Who said
when?
that? Who said that?
Nikasa.
Nikasa.
Right. Okay. Okay. What is the question? Is Mikesa? What's the name?
Nikasa.
Okay. What is the question you will ask? What is the question you're asking?
When do you want to lose it by?
Right. Good. Okay. I want to lose it by February. 10 pounds by February. So now I have a good idea. I have the goal in terms of what I want to lose. I want to lose it by when, and I also have why I want to lose it, right? So I have a good idea of the goal, and we'll shorten this just for the sake of time. Let's go to reality. What is one of the first questions you should ask me to establish my reality? Let's suppose I'm the person who wanted to lose 10. I don't need to lose 10 pounds, but let's suppose I was. What is the first question that you should ask me to establish the reality?
Money is a money.
Now?
No,
Say
but
that again? A question. I need a question.
What are you doing now?
Right. What am I doing now? Well, one of the first things I'm doing is I'm having KFC about 3 times a week.
Right, but then realistically, you can't do it like that.
Well, no, don't tell me that. Again, don't tell me. Don't tell me what to do. Coaching is not about telling people what to do. It's just about letting me figure it out for myself. So I want you to ask me, already asked me, what am I doing now? I said I'm eating KFC three times a week. But I might be doing more, so ask me some more questions.
Are you exercising?
No.
Are you drinking water?
Well, I'm drinking water, but I'm not exercising.
Do you think eating KFC is going to help you lose weight?
No, it's not.
What are the reasons why you want to lose the weight?
Well, just to be healthier, really. And I have trouble getting up in the morning. So I'm having KFC. Okay, good. So the idea, you know a few things now. You know I'm eating KFC 3 times a week. You know that I'm not exercising, right? So you have right now, and we're shortening this for now because I want to give you a clear idea as to what coaching is and what coaching is not. You have a gap now between the reality and the goal. Obviously, the gap is there. So we need to close the gap. So now let's go to the options. So what is a question you could ask me for me to take responsibility for making sure I take the action that I need to take to close the gap between the weight I want to lose and the KFC and not exercising that is creating that gap? What is that question you could ask me to determine options?
Could you eat something else besides KFC, like something else?
Well, don't ask me so direct. A question you could ask first, and let me help you out with this one. What is the first thing that you think you could do differently?
Yeah.
Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me to stop eating KFC. Don't tell me to start exercising, because people don't respond to commands like that.
Yeah.
That's like telling people to stop smoking. That ain't going to happen. Ask me what I could do differently. Okay, so let me answer that question. Okay, so I'll cut down the KFC to once a week. Is that okay? I'll cut it down to once a week. Ask me another question.
About exercising, but I don't want to be direct with that question to ask you about, hey, Tony, exercise, go to the gym 3 times a week. You can't.
No. Don't tell me what to do. Anybody else?
You could say, well, you know, that's a good start. What else do you think you can do?
That's a good question. What else do you think you should do? So what you are doing is letting me think for myself.
Yeah.
Right? That is what you are doing with coaching, is that you are allowing me to think. Okay, so let me see. I could okay, I'll start walking maybe about 20 minutes. Denise, you had a question?
Yeah, the question I would ask is, what are the barriers that's stopping you from doing things differently?
Right. So after I say, well, I'm going to exercise 20 minutes and I'm going to cut KFC down, that is a good question. So I'm going to say the barriers. Well, you know, it's hard to find the time. Hard to find the time to exercise. That's why I haven't been exercising. Go ahead, shoot another question. Like address that time issue.
What are the things that's keeping you busy throughout the day?
Well, just work in general, and then I finish work late. I leave early. I come home late. I don't have time. Then I have to cook.
Do you think you'll be able to make any other sacrifice in order for you to achieve that goal?
Well, maybe I could exercise on the lunch hour at work. That'll be an idea. So what you all are doing now is closing the gap between the reality and the goal by giving me a chance to come up with options.
I
right?
see Hazel, Tony got a question.
Hazel, tell me.
What are your priorities as far as why do you want to lose weight? Why exactly? That could sort of motivate you as well.
Right. Okay. So you want to go back to my goal to make sure I have a purpose behind it.
Clear.
Yeah. So I want to lose weight just to be healthier and to give me more energy in the day and that type of thing.
Right. So if you answer me that way, be healthy and whatever, then do you think you should make a greater effort? Don't you think a greater effort?
I can't hear you, Hazel. Something is
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'll type it.
Okay, well, we'll come back. We could type it in the chat, Hazel.
Type it in the chat, Hazel, because I want to hear that question.
Yeah,
What
hear the question.
So the idea is that does everybody get it so far? Do you understand where I'm going with this? Coaching is all about questioning people. If they come to you, because one of the problems and challenges I see leaders having all the time is that they want to solve everybody's problem. Like once you're solving everybody's problem, every time they come to you with a question, you answer them. Every time they ask you a question, you answering it. You are not going to develop people like that. I know we have to, hurry to get things done, and you might know things more than other people, but a year from now, the people who you are answering all the questions to are not going to develop their level of initiative from here to here. And you will never go on vacation. So the idea is to make sure that you get people to think for themselves. So let's go back to the model, and you're doing well so far. I have a goal. I have the reality. You establish a gap between the reality and the goal. And you have options now. I have some options. Now there are a lot more. Maybe you know the answer to something and you are not, I am not coming up with it. And you might say, well, I noticed you only mentioned KFC. What else are you doing that may be bad for your health like that? Well, I might say something like, well, I go to rituals every Friday night with my friends and I have donuts and coffee. Well, that might be another option. I might say, well, okay, well, I'll still go to rituals with my friends because I like the interaction. But maybe I'll do without the donut and just have the coffee. So now remember, coaching is a structured process. It's something where you would take an employee that you may be having some challenges with, and you have a half an hour meeting once a week with them to establish this. Because a week from now, you may want to have another conversation with me to see where I am. Am I sticking to the KFC routine? Am I sticking to the exercise routine? Am I staying away from the donut? Like, you have to have a follow-up with coaching. Coaching is just not a one-time thing. You have to schedule a meeting every week with this person who you are trying to coach to try to get the answers out to them. And what actions, because everything about coaching and what makes it effective is that the person is doing what they say they are going to do. And it's your job as a leader to check and make sure that that is happening.
So Tony, this coaching is a very important conversation, as you said, right?
Yes, very.
I did it with a couple persons with me as the coaching and mentoring, part of coaching and mentoring. Yes. And what they came up with, so as you correctly said, you're not telling anybody, you're not telling them what to do. No. And at the end of and you just said something that triggered in my mind. You have to, it's a period of time. So we had week-to-week discussions, and after a period of time, this individual realized she was in the wrong department or the wrong unit, and you know, she moved into a different area. She had moved into facilities management, actually.
Right.
So the point is, we didn't tell her what to do, but we asked the conversations. You asked, you know, the goal, what is your current state, what's your future state. This is also reminded me, always coaching reminds me, this grow model of the 5 whys. The 5 why.
Yeah, it's
You know,
very
why,
similar.
why? You know, sometimes I might say you're a pest, but at the end of the day, you get into the crux of the matter.
Yeah, but this role model is very, very universal. I didn't do the will yet, but I'll do that in a second. Now, I use this all the time, you know. I even use it with my children. I mean, just imagine that you know, my children, one of them in particular, have this habit of leaving clothes on the ground, right? So sometimes I will say, what's the goal? What's the goal? Where does that item of clothing need to be? Right? This doesn't have to be anything technical, you know. Where does it need to be? And where is it now? What do you think you should do? So what are you going to do? And that is it. It might take a little longer than me saying, listen, pick up that clothes and put it in the dirty clothes basket. That is faster, yeah. That is faster, but it doesn't make them think.
But you realize, Tony, right?
Yes.
Our entire teachings over the years, right, didn't teach us to ask questions. You know, it just taught us what, hey, Tony, do X, do Y, go and write it on the board. 1 + 1 is 2, things like that. So it is a whole series and a culture change that we're trying to do with this coaching game.
Well, well, that is the idea. Once you define competencies for your company, that is what drives the culture.
I wanted to just ask a question that Hazel, sorry, Tony, that Hazel asked.
Yeah.
If you ask what exactly are your reasons for wanting to lose the weight, then your goal should at least remind you of how important this is to you and spur you to make that extra effort to find ways to encourage you. So the reasons, why
you should establish. You have to establish this right up here with the first line of questioning. By the time you get down to reality and options, now I came up with a couple options. I'm going to stay away from the KFC. I'll have it maybe once a week. I'm going to start exercising. So now with the way forward or will, you have to ask me, what are the things I'm going to do? Let me wrap it up for you so that I am clear what I'm going to commit to. So next week when we talk, that we are in a better position to know where to start there. And you go through the grow model again next week, so that you see where they are in the goal, and then you keep going reality options. And that is generally how you approach coaching in a nutshell. Now, this other, I think I have another one, right? So this is the same model. It's the same model, just with sort of sample questions here. And Shivani, you can tell me who's in the chat asking questions. I don't want to go to the chat right now to read that.
Great, yeah.
So this is the G and the R right here in the grow model. This is the G. Present situation and goal. What outcome do you want? What is happening now? Step 2, 3, and 4 is the O. These are the options. What can you do? What else could you do? Well, I could stay away from KFC. What else? Stay away from the donuts. Define the choices. Exercise more. Commit to the action. Which option is the most compelling? Well, all of them in this case. What is the first thing that you should do? Well, I'll start with the KFC. What might prevent you from succeeding? Is there anything missing? And I think somebody asked that question earlier. What resources do you need? And then tell me what you're going to do and by when. So it's all about questioning. Everything with coaching. Now, I'm not saying, now I am explaining this in black and white, but I'm not telling you don't ask questions, don't suggest feedback in between the coaching. You could do that if you want, but don't make it a major part of the coaching. Coaching is all about questioning to get people to answer it for themselves. That is key here. So moving forward, let's do this really quickly. I think, how much time do we have? 4 minutes. My new boss just held our first staff meeting and announced major changes to our department, and specifically changes to my job. I was really upset that she did this in a public way without confirming those changes with me first. We had met once before and she said she was considering the possible changes, and she said she would let me know when she did at the meeting. I feel like I have been undermined. It is clear she does not trust me or think I am competent. I get the feeling she wants to bring in other people, bring in people from her previous company, and this is just the beginning. She stated that she did not think our department was strategic enough and people were not working to their capacity. So do you think I should be looking for a new job? Do you think I should approach her and let her know how I feel? She does not appear to be the empathetic type. In all my years at this company, she has never done this to me. This has never happened to me. I am really at a loss. What should I do? So imagine you had to coach this person who is making so many assumptions. You go through the grow model with this, and you can take a screenshot of this if you want and go through it and see if you could come up with a grow model for this. Obviously, what is the goal? What is the reality? The reality is, well, she said that they're not being strategic enough. Well, what makes you think that? Okay. What else? It is clear that she does not trust me. Another assumption. Why do you think she doesn't trust you? And what is the way forward for this person? What is the best thing to do? Obviously, it would be, you know the answer. The answer is to go and have a one-on-one. But you don't tell her what to do or him what to do. You just go and ask her, what do you think you should do in order to clarify this process or this situation? For me, it would be to have a one-on-one, but let that person come up with it so that they are clear as to what they're supposed to do. Any questions at all? So adapting to this is really about looking to, in this process, in this entire process, from defining competencies to having all the different types of conversations, where are you challenged? What challenges you the most, and what action might be the most relevant to you at this time? If you have to think about it. Okay, let me go to the chat. Any comments from everybody? Anybody?
Laverne, any questions, Laverne?
Somebody had a question. Barry to everyone. I'm sorry, I have to drop off a meeting. Okay. Lenny's Gracia, is she still there? Is it fair to say that the atmosphere is toxic or the people? Well, the people make the atmosphere toxic. Leaders create the environment. It's who they hire and what they are allowing to continue.
Okay, thanks.
But once you define, Lenise, if you are able, and this is not an overnight process, once you could define the actual behaviors that you want from the top down, define it, and then use the conversations to monitor it and maintain it. It's not an easy fix, but it's something that is possible.
Because Tony, what we keep saying all the time, persons will have these issues because we do not know what their actual behaviors are. They don't know the behaviors. They just don't know. They all is saying you need to be more initiative. You need to show initiative. What is initiative to you? It should be outlined, and that's your KPI, correct, Tony?
Well, that is not a KPI.
Part of it.
That is a behavior, but the KPI is the KPI is the competencies drive the KPIs.
And we don't do this. That's what we're saying, right?
Competencies are built. The behaviors are built into the competencies. Anyway, we are out of time. It is what time it is? After 12? After 1 now, sorry?
It's 1, yes. Any questions? Anybody got any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure,
Yes.
let's hear you.
All right. So in regards to the slide you have, and in regards to ensuring that people understand, I know you said clarity, which is important. However, sometimes people are very resistant, even if you clear things up. How do you overcome that challenge?
When you have to do anything that is different, anything that involves change, you have to sell that idea to everybody. But remember that defining competencies is not one person doing it or 2 people, it's the entire management team. So everybody has to have an input. You could, depending on the size of the company, you could have different people from different departments be a part of that process. Because remember, they are doing the job. They will know when you do a job analysis, what is involved. So that to define these processes, to define the behaviors that you want to have, explain to them why you are doing this. Because this could be the difference between you differentiating yourself in the marketplace and you not differentiating yourself. Because we know the companies that differentiate themselves in the marketplace. When we go to a company and we see a certain behavior, or we did have a certain experience as a customer, we know why we want to go back there, and it's because of how people behave and because of their knowledge as well.
Yes, I think we have another question. I think
yeah, we have David and Nikisa.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, I was just wondering about the recruitment process of the organization, because we're talking about behavior and we're talking about like coaching and creating a culture through the behavior. But that has to be something that is looked at from the very beginning of the employees, but like the hiring process then, because you could have people who are hired and they cannot be coached to behave a certain way. You will end up with the same problem.
Yes.
The same problem in the organization. So it has to be a little more strategic.
Yes, it has to be strategic. And again, this is only an hour. So the idea is that once you define the behaviors that you want, you use those behaviors or competencies to hire the people so that they have those behaviors up front. You don't try to develop. There's certain behaviors that's supposed to be the price of admission into your company. Don't try to change them once they reach. You try to get that in first. You can't go say integrity is one of them and you're trying to develop integrity. You have to bring that in. David?
What is action changes things? What is that?
Say that again.
What is action changes things?
Oh, action changes things. Yeah, so a lot of people think that you have to motivate people to do something, but the idea is action precedes motivation. If I don't feel like exercising, or I don't feel like getting to a task, or I don't feel like washing the dishes, the best way to motivate myself is to go and start, because once you start, the motivation will come. It's not about motivating people. You don't have to do that. Create the right environment and you will get the motivation from people, because motivation is internal. It doesn't come from outside.
Great. I think those were all the questions, Tony.
I'm not seeing any hands up.
Persons
Okay,
that
I want to thank everybody for being a part of this. I mean, I can't see you, but whoever you are, nice to meet you. At least see your name. Hopefully you could be at the next one, but I hope this was able to clear up at least some things for you that maybe you may want to, move forward with or try to do something with in the future. All right. So have a great day, everybody, and thanks again.
Thank you to Tony.
Welcome.
Thank you, Tony.
Okay,
thanks a lot. And on behalf of Caribbean Connect, again, Lunch and Learn series right here with Tony. And of course, I know the conversation was so great that we have a particular program that we'll call you all on, and definitely some of us may want to get more information on it, continuing the talk on conversation.
Right,
thanks again.
Bye.
Until we meet again next week, Tuesday.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.